Hello world. Today we're going to be going over bank reconciliations. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're going to translate bank reconciliation into how do you push through transactions into your financial software. Now, let's jump right into it. So, for this example, we're going to be reconciling this business bank account. Now, you can see all these transactions that are coming through. Some are green, which means some are matched. Some you can see just have a note. Now, if we want to see what's exactly required for when we push through a transaction, this cash coding tab will give you a nice overview, and it's very powerful if you want to code a lot of transactions at the same time. So let's do this example. Central City parking. So we know it's parking, and we know we get emailed the receipt. We know there's GST on these invoices. So the payee is already filled out. So let's just do this one by one. So this is parking for sales meeting. Okay, right now we don't have an account for parking set up. So I'm just going to show you how to create that real quick. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the account, and we have, this is an extra category. It's not necessary, but if you want to differentiate how much parking you're paying, in this case we have region, and this field is customizable, but for this we're not going to use it right now. So that's essentially it. Now once we hit save and reconcile selected, the financials will have that parking in there. Now, doing it one by one can get annoying. So, you can, if you hold shift and you hit down, you can highlight multiple ones and we can push those through. Now that's great, but if we do it this way, every month when the transaction comes back into the accounting system, we're going to have to do it one more time, or essentially every time it comes. And that's a reoccurring task that we're trying to eliminate. So here's one way where we can set up a rule. So anytime Central City parking comes through, it's going to be automatically put to parking and we won't have to do anything. So I'll just show you how to create a bank rule. So payee equal, we don't want to use equals, because let's just say if this was Central City parking 1, 2, and next time we went to Central City parking 1, 4. Well, if we have equals, then it's only going to work on one of them, and the other one is just going to be there for us to work on. So what I like to do is I go contains. And so now, if any transaction contains Central City parking in the payee, well then we're going to tell the system to set it to this contact, make the description parking, choose the account parking, and choose the tax rate GST on purchases. And since we do pay for parking sometimes through our bank, sometimes through our Visa, let's run this rule on all bank accounts. So when we go ahead and do this, now you can see that the Central City parking is already all filled out. And when it's all filled out, when you hit save and reconcile all, it'll push through automatically. So those are some quick ways to quote unquote reconcile the bank. Let's look at some other transactions here. Now, you notice this green on the right side. Well, what this means is this invoice, which is a sales invoice, was raised on April 5th, and you can see here it's been sent to the client. Now, we raised it, we sent it. Now, 7 days later, we received the funds. So now when the funds have come in, it's already recommending us to match it with this invoice. In this case, we just hit OK, and now we're done. Now, I don't know if you notice it, this was the invoice here, and it was in the outstanding accounts receivable. Since we reconciled it, now it's no longer here because we've told the system that this invoice has been paid. Let's do a couple more examples here. Let's look at this smart agency. Now, let's just say we set up a automatic deposit or withdrawal from another account. Well, in this case, we don't really create a transaction because it's a transfer from one of our accounts to another. So a common example is when you pay your credit card or when you transfer funds from one account to another. In this case, we hit transfer and we just tell the system which account the funds were transferred to. So I'll go ahead and just do that. This was a bill here. Now, you might be asking me, okay, how do you get these bills in here? And there are a couple of ways. One way is we can do it manually, meaning we'd have to enter in the name. We'd have to also enter in the date. So we'd have to put in all these fields manually. Now, that's not too bad, but it still is pretty bad. We're trying to automate everything. So a really great way to do this in a way where it eliminates all entry yourself is to use a tool which I mentioned in my last video called Receipt Bank. Receipt Bank will allow you to add items. When I say items, I mean invoices, receipts. You can upload them. You can also email them. You'll have an app and you can just take a picture of it. PayPal will connect directly. I don't use Dropbox, but if you do use Dropbox, Receipt Bank will go into your Dropbox and it'll start to process the receipts that you save onto there itself. Now, here is an example of a receipt that we took a picture of with Receipt Bank. Now, as you can see, Receipt Bank has read the supplier, it's read the date, it's also read the amount. When you hit publish in Receipt Bank, once it's read everything, here you see it, Cloverdale Paint. So now this has actually come into our AP. And the neat thing about this is it stores the image, the source document. This is important because if you don't have this, but you've told the system that this transaction was paint and we don't have a receipt from the vendor, well, CRA can reject that credit. And let's say it's been 2 years and then they review you 2 years later and they reject the credit, well, then there's going to be interest and penalties on top of that. So this is a neat way, but like I said, let's say if this vendor sends you invoices to your email and you have your invoices no matter what, and they're not going to go anywhere, well, then you can use some of these rules that save a lot of time. Now, you might be asking, when we've pushed it through, where does it go? So let's just do this one right here, city limousines. I'm going to do this one manually. So this was travel. It was within Canada. So there's going to be GST on here, GST on purchases. So you can see that the transactions April 2019. Once we hit OK, and when you navigate to your profit and loss, so right now we're trying to go to travel and we're looking in April. When we click into here, we should see that limousines. There you go, city limousines. So I think that's quite a bit of information, but there you see it, how the bank rec, it's very simple, it's very quick, but it's very important. And, I'm showing you this on Xero and I'm making it look easy. But the truth is, if we were using Simply Accounting, it would be, this video would have been 4 hours long. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you found it useful. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.